All right, we're at 6 o'clock.
We're ready.
Call this meeting to order. Please rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let the roll call show all board members are present except for Eric Minks. And we are gonna go right to the student showcase, all the art presentations.
Yeah, you know, one of our very favorite things to do every year is to showcase our great artists, and it's a tradition that the board started many years ago prior to me starting. And I think we've been doing lots of showcases of art because last month we had the middle school play come and give us a presentation of their play. Today we get to see some of your great pieces of art, which we will proudly display the art in our district offices over the course of the next year, if, of course, you've given us permission to do so, artists. And then they're yours to keep, I think, right? If you'd like to get them back. But if not, we'll just continue to display those over the years. So what we'll do is, it's great to see everyone, by the way. Thank you for coming out for this special event. And we'll turn it over to our great art department to take it from here.
You like to come up here, Henry? Okay, so, well, this is the picture that Henry drew. It's pencil is what it is. And, so what I do every year pretty much is I teach about architecture. And one of the reasons I like teaching about architecture is because students can, they can see that math and art can be combined to, for a job, for a career when they get older. And so we learn about Frank Lloyd Wright, and we learn about Frank Lloyd Wright.
Thank you.
Yes. And this year, what we did is after we learned about Frank Lloyd Wright and we looked at the Falling Water House, what we did then is we looked at some of Dr. Seuss's houses and just looking at the imagination that Dr. Seuss had. And so what the students had to do is they had to make a scribble line on their paper, and then they had to make things that make you wonder. They had to draw on there and just be as wild and imaginative as they could, what would make people wonder. And so when I'd walk around and the kids were working, I'd look at it and I'd say, okay, if they didn't know what to do, what would make me wonder about that? So it caused them to just think in their imagination. And Henry, instead of using colored pencils, because students could use colored pencils as well, he chose just to use his pencil and to create shading and with his pencil and some different values in there with the dark and the light. And he has different things on there that you'll have to just get a closer look at. And one thing I loved about it that really made me wonder is Henry, he loves to make pigs. Everything's about pigs. And I said, well, Henry, I'm wondering, where is the pig? And he didn't put a pig in his picture this time, so. So he just did a great job. And would you like to say anything about your picture, Henry?
Hey, Henry, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? What grade you're in? Things you like to do?
I am in second grade, and most of the stuff I do is about pigs.
Okay.
In last December, my mom bought some onions from the grocery store, and they were, like plain onions.
Yep.
And one of them was sprouting, and she said she was just going to use it quicker, but instead I stole it from the thing and planted it.
Super cool. We got any other questions for Henry?
Very nice work.
Let's give him a hand. And just so everyone in the crowd knows, once we've completed this, we'll take a short break so people can take pictures and we'll get one big picture with the group and everything too. So we're good.
First of all, my name is Tom Jumper. I'm the specialist in art over at the intermediate school, and this is one of my students, Ayla Adi, and I selected her. It was a tough decision, by the way. It always is. I'm sure the rest of the art department knows that. It's a difficult decision to try and figure out what we want to bring and display. And I thought she did an awesome job because mainly she, I gave her the idea. I gave the whole class the idea. She worked through some of the different things she wanted to do. They were given basically, it's a mass project. I'll show you right now what it is. And it's based on African design. And what they do is they sketch out an idea, they go online, they take a few ideas from online. Should we smile?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And what they do once they have that taken care of is they start sketching out their ideas. They are allowed to come up with their own ideas as long as it's African based. And so we're looking at lines and shapes and colors and different things like that. And she came up with a really an outstanding design, and she was able to convert it into a three-dimensional mask, which was amazing. So what we do after that is we display them in the display cases. She also had a picture of it in my area, so I can go through and evaluate them. And as I was going through and evaluating the different masks, hers just really stood out. So it was kind of a no-brainer. It was really good. There were a lot of close ones, but I was really very impressed with this one. So anyway, we got a frame for you, and we're gonna have it stick around here. And do you have some words to say for everybody else?
First of all, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for working so hard. Appreciate it.
And it was really fun to paint and do the different designs.
I noticed that you were pretty intense in class. It was really good to see you. Like, you were visiting a little bit, but it's like, okay, got my game face on. I'm working on my math, so it was really good. So thank you again. Really enjoyed having you in class this year, and also have a certificate for you too. Just to let you know how much I appreciate your work this year. That you can take home and frame it up and hang into that, and check back in a couple of years and see if they are gonna let you take it back. But work that special. You might have a tough time getting it back, but I'm sure you'll get it. But anyway, Ayla Adi did a really nice job, so thank you so much.
I'm Julie Drusma, the art specialist at the middle school. And I want to introduce to you one of the coolest kids in the whole 7th grade. This is Madison Kyle.
Madison, let me get a picture of you right
Madison, they want our. Madison is one of the most hardworking students that an art teacher comes along and is like, I just want you to keep creating and keep painting. But I want to share a little story about her sculpture. We studied Mexican folk art of the Alabries, and the goal was to create a project that was made out of newspaper, paper mache, and a wire. They had very limited supplies, and the goal was to make it as lightweight as possible. And then we went around with plaster of Paris strips and talked about pattern, and we looked at many different patterns. And Madison, you just amazed me because she's like, can I take it home? I just need a little more time. I need to take it home. And so I said, okay. And she brought it back, and I was so impressed with your fine detail, all of your patterns. Just a fun, colorful piece that she titled The Huntress. And Madison had designed this after your cat. Is that right, Madison? Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Well, the stripes on the tail I thought were pretty cool because that's what my cat has.
And you have other different patterns and designs. and a lot of dots, which is really, really big, and the Alabrie sculptures. So Madison, I just want to thank you for being a great student and thank you for donating this. I will leave it here and then you are going to be able to pick that back up in a year. Thank you, Madison. And thank you to your parents. Thank you for supporting and allowing and letting her be creative.
All right, I am Mitch Graysick. I teach pottery and jewelry at the high school. This is Allison Clausen. You want to you can set it there and or hold it. Actually, for the
Let's
picture.
get a picture of you.
There you go. Sorry, Allie. I didn't tell her she was doing any of it. So. And I think I'm going to talk more about her than the piece because it's kind of cool that it's going to be on display here. But I think what it on display here represents is she's one of the kids that make this job really, really special, and they're all a reason to make it special. But there's some that stand out and kind of make your day. I even told her one day, I was like, days are less than when you don't walk through the door in this classroom. I've had her in advisory for 2 years now, and she got best in show at the Mississippi 8 art conference. She's a painter by trade typically, but I'm getting her into some 3D work, and so I had her in pottery try 2, and then this try is an independent study between Enright and I, and she kind of floats between the two of them. And so the class that I have in there is pottery 1, and she'll come in and kind of actually bounce around almost like there's 2 of me and help kids on the wheel and kind of help them with some of the stuff they're working on. So it's really cool to see her in that setting and just kind of making the pottery studio a better place. And she keeps me in check a little bit. There was this one time, I'm at the point where when my artwork, I get a little bit too hung up on quality control. And when things come out of the kiln, it's not predictable. Glazes don't behave the way that you always want them to. So there was one that I did that came out of the kiln that I wasn't super proud of my signature being on the bottom. So I ended its existence. We'll call it that way. And she said, you can't preach process over product and then you don't hold on to your mistakes to use as what you called a think piece, right? So I kept one of the little pieces of shrapnel of the piece and it's on display on the board, but then take 2 on lobster slab pot didn't end well for her either. And she said, I really want to smash it. I know what you mean now. I really want to break it. So she broke hers and we have 2 little think piece shrapnel of when things don't go well, they're on display in the art room of growth. Process over product sometimes. Product is important too, but Allie Clausen, manta ray. I'll talk a little bit about manta ray, but yes, sir.
Well, we need to hear from her too.
Uh-oh.
Will you show us?
She's like, I don't have to talk, do I? Okay, so it's all clay. So the bottom isn't a rock. It's actually painted to look like one, which was my favorite part about this one, which is why I picked it.
And the nails match the art.
Just right. You planned it the whole time.
It was actually completely finished once, and then she's like, I don't like it. Brought it home, and it's completely different color and texture than it was the last time. So there's a few layers of paint underneath. Oh yeah, the title. Do you want to show the title?
Everybody loves you, Rayman.
We struggled with that one for an hour today. So it is titled now. It is not an untitled piece, but yeah. So it's all clay, hand built, and
Well, I mean, that is a really big deal to be acknowledged at the Mississippi 8 Art Festival. I mean, that is no joke. So
best in show.
out of all of them? Oh my
All the
goodness.
entries last year as a sophomore. Yeah. So she is a junior. So luckily
There's
one more year.
5 judges that pick these.
Yeah, you know more about it than I do, but yeah. So yeah, the 5 judges each pick one. One of the judges picked out these all the entries. So
Congratulations.
Allie Clausen.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Okay, I'm gonna start by saying my student isn't here. High school, they have life, and so they got called to go to work, and it wasn't feasible. So she was very bummed, but I plan to take this and get a picture of her and add it to the little social media post, if that's okay. And then
So
I'll bring it back.
we will wait to post.
That'd be
if-
super.
Until you get us that picture, but try and get it to us.
Yeah, right away. I'm
Okay,
very efficient.
thanks.
Yes, thank you. So thank you. Number 2, I don't know where I'm at. I want everyone to know, this is a way I keep track of how long I've been teaching here in Princeton. I started in the fall of '94, and this is the 31st year that Julie Drugsma and I, have done this. The school board had started it that very first year in the spring of, 95. And, I am just so thrilled that you guys continue this and you celebrate, and it's a chance that we really get to celebrate the artists. We have an amazing job. So Kaylee McConaughey is a senior. I am gonna share, this is a watercolor. I have her for painting too. Kaylee McConaughey is someone who will take a drawing and a painting, and she works incredibly detailed. She's very impeccable, to the very tiniest little small increments of detail that she adds it's just insanely amazing to watch. The resilience that she has, the tenacity, and this was a challenge for her, believe it or not, because she had to go large scale. The challenge was to do a macro and zoom in with our camera lens and to paint this larger scale piece. It was a challenge for her. So talking about the throwing and smashing the pieces, this was one where she was ready to be done, but it was a sense of growth. A huge sign of her resilience, and she's grown to love it, just as I have, and I hope that you love it as well. So I'm really proud of her. Also, Kaylee has a piece. If you go to social media, you'll see the Mississippi 8. I'm going to do one more plug for the high school, but it's a product of K through 12. We had our Mississippi 8 competition. We had 11 superiors. We have 18 pieces we can show. 11 were superior rating. We had 6 that were excellent, and then 2 of the 5 judges selected 2 of our students' work as their best. So check it out. So proud of the work that our kids do. So proud of the heart they put in our art, and so proud to be a Princeton Tiger and that you all support. There's my speech. Go Tigers.
So that is a great, like, mic drop end to that. I think what we'll do is, board members, if you'd be so kind to come out in front, like we always have you do. And all of our recipients of our art honors tonight, if you maybe grab your piece of art and stand in front of the board, and we'll get a picture of you. And then teachers too, would be great to have you in the picture as well.
Put one hand.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Just to get a good pic. Go ahead. We'll have the board members, the adults stand more in the back. And then anyone wants to come up and grab pictures, please do. Let's get you a little more centered this way.
All right. I can kneel. Are we scooched enough?
Here, I'll just kneel. I'll be one of the kids.
Look towards the middle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're good there?
Good.
All right, so, Chair Alm, if you'd allow us just a few minutes for us to take a break. So if parents want to take pictures with the teacher and the student and just kind of a little bit of time for pictures. And then, of course, it's an open board meeting. You can stay all night or you're free to go after this. Okay, so yeah, let's get some pictures.
Riveting.
Let me see
Okay.
It's all planned. And it's very.
No, that's not it's not- yeah, it's not make sure. If you did that in bed, it's like, wow.
That's what I did. I'm talking about. Now I know who to come to for onion.
Yes.
Oh, that's.
You're gonna bring it in there? Yeah. We're just here for everyone to. Oh, that's good. If she sends it to you, it's one for the men. A lot of work. And then go home. You can run.
I love art, I just lack talent. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I would be on the side of your right. Yeah, we just wanted but when I was like, abstract, like.
I was kind of hoping the pig was camouflage.
Right.
And see if I can find it.
When he comes here next year, I'm not kidding,
Ah,
remember
looking forward to
him?
it.
He-
Pig Maley.
Yeah.
Dolly, but with pigs.
Everything you get.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking a little no, but it looks good. Seldom love it. So, well, you picked a good one. There's to remember. Yeah.
There you go.
And then they'll find a place to hang it up and then next year you just have, that's somebody and you'll get it out.
The next year's kids up there.
Yeah.
Yours back.
I was just up until this Monday. They got a parts last week. Yeah. Nice. So what do you want to do?
Want to like fighting it.
I'll make you.
But good, right now she's art stuff. Alright, let's go ahead and Chelsea. You know, she's gonna be something in the playground. Yeah, stay for a while. So art there and it's art. Oh, but yeah, I go from what even though that amazing.
Do I keep the frame?
Isn't it yours? Yeah.
Yeah, more.
Bill.
Thank you. I was just checking out your reviews too about it.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Okay, have a good night.
And they're getting back in their traffic. Let's get into your skill.
You gotta have that.
All right, we have, our citizen comments, we have none tonight. So we will move on to board member committee reports. Who wants to start? Eric Strand?
Sure, see, I was at the superintendent interviews, the last round of them. I missed my finance meeting, I think I feel I had some nice replacement people, at least one.
Hello.
Yeah, that's it.
Scott?
I'll just take a half second to say it's Teacher Appreciation Week. So I'm a teacher in a neighboring district, so I want to say it's a pleasure to be in a club with all of you teachers here in Princeton. I think there's a little shared camaraderie there, so thank you for the work that you do. As far as my committee, superintendent interviews, and I was also a part of the negotiations process and then the community task force.
All right, Melissa?
I also had superintendent interviews, we did like all kinds of superintendent stuff. And then we had a couple of Tiger Care meetings, Tiger Connections at the high school, and that was the one that we meet with the businesses and the teaching side of the teaching side of it.
CTE.
The CTE, yeah, teaching, and that was really good. It went really well. It's always fun to get that whole group together. I did staff appreciation lunch today. We did mock interviews. The spring concert was last night and it was so good. If you gotta go back and watch just the last song they did. It was so good, and it's my daughter's senior year and I may or may not have a tear. It was fine. I was probably the good one Eric was talking about filling in for finance. Yeah. And for our student reps are not here today. So I do want to say that the blood drive that we usually try to get to sign up for is full, which is the first time that's happened in a while. So we won't be able to sign up for that, but that's great. And then I'm pretty sure there was something else I was supposed to say, but that's what you get when you're at track, I guess.
All right, Jen.
So I had the privilege of participating in the superintendent hiring process as well. Attended maybe the last public engagement meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I feel like that went really well. The Tiger Connections, this is my first time through on a lot of these meetings, so it was great to see that collaboration that morning. So that was awesome. I got to help with the staff appreciation lunch, and I got to do one mock interview on Monday over my lunch. So thank you.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
All right. I also participated in all of the superintendent things over the last 3 weeks. I did go to, we had a Tiger Care meeting, Tiger Connections, and it is a really fun meeting. We meet twice a year with all of the CTE staff at the high school and the businesses together. So that's always a good time. I also, SAF, I had an executive board meeting for that. They are struggling with some things as far as trying to target, their focus. They need to get a focus.
That was nice.
And,
That, used to be.
it used to be C's, Schools for Equity and Education. Now it's Schools for Affordable.
For fair funding.
Fair
Fair
funding.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. I had agenda planning. Last Friday, I was at the special person lunch, and Michelle and I were lunch ladies. and got to serve, chicken patty sandwiches.
You guys rock it or what?
Absolutely, I caught up, I mean, never fell behind.
Michelle?
We did.
All right.
We did
We were-
fall behind, we could keep up.
My days of working at McDonald's when I was 16 years old. Running back into my little anxiety.
I totally get lunch lady vibes out of both.
Yeah. You guys nailed it.
Oh, yeah, we did. And, ended with finance before this meeting, so. We have no student council tonight, so Ben, superintendent report.
Boy, that Special Friends Day is a well-oiled machine though. They've done it
Yes.
for so many years and it's such a great turnout that we get, such a special day for everybody. Want to acknowledge that, Pat Devine is in the audience. It's great to see you, Pat. As we begin the process to pass the torch on to him, it's, an exciting time, into the transition period. Pat and I had a chance to visit a couple times over phone and he visited today and we'll plan some future times together as well. As he begins that process and learns the lay of the land and those kinds of things. So that's great and thank you for coming tonight. Just, I think that we've had a meeting since our legislative breakfast, haven't we? But that was pretty incredible event that we pulled off, for the first time.
Yes.
And, I bring that up just because, of course, we're coming to hopefully the end of the legislative, process. I feel like this year, more so maybe than other years that I feel like there's so many more unknowns than in the past. You somewhat kind of think where you might be going, and I don't think we have a clue what that's going to end up to look like. And there could be some positives that would impact our projections for next year, or there could be some negatives. So the jury's still out on that.
I just want to say, I should have said it during my piece too, but just a public thank you to all the kids that spoke at the legislative breakfast because they did
Yeah.
such a great job.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah, I think that's a real point of pride for the board that you should be real proud of just in the last couple of years in the creation of the legislative platform, bringing delegations to the Capitol, the Princeton delegation, the legislative, breakfast. I mean, that's a class act and you should be proud of that. So thank you for that. Want to just put on your radar, that every year we're invited to give kind of state of the union or state of the district, if you will, at the Chamber of Commerce event. We share that agenda with the city. And that meeting is going to be, I believe, next
On a Tuesday.
Next Tuesday-ish. I'd imagine, Chloe, that, you're invited to that if you'd like to come. But that's at the middle school and that starts, I think, at noon. So, we'll give kind of a state of the district, and then the city will as well. I'll probably do more, speaking from the heart, just on things that are happening from the district. I won't probably put a dog and pony show together in a presentation. I'll just share quite a bit, and I'll talk a lot about
Task force.
our task force. I think that's gonna be a big component of just kind of sharing, where we're at in our district, frame it, but then talk about, the future a little bit too. So that's gonna be next Tuesday. Of course, you're all welcome if you'd like to come. So there's that. Let's see here. As you mentioned, we've done the team member appreciation. That's a nice tradition that we have. I was at the primary and the intermediate today. It was great visiting with team members, and then I think we have a couple more that will be next week as well. So that was good. Tomorrow night, big night for all of you. School board scholar event. So that is an exciting evening, and we have a great speaker to be our keynote tomorrow, so we're excited about that as well. The community task force, I think we had a strong last meeting. I've met with the chairs of that committee in terms of putting a presentation together. And they've shared that out with, there's, I think, about a half a dozen other people volunteered to present with them to the board. That presentation will be at the next school board meeting. So that will probably be a big bulk share. Now, I want you to be thinking about that because we will have, after that meeting, then we're gonna have to do some homework. Because as you'll see on the agenda tonight, we need to set, we believe, another meeting in June to specifically have a work session just to talk about that recommendation, okay? But I think that in preparation for your meeting, you know, after the recommendation, you're gonna wanna have us do some homework with Wold and ICS, okay? In terms of like, what are some of the options that you're intrigued with? You know, and then we'll invite Wold and ICS to come to that meeting. And, you know, we'll bring in all the players.
Will we
Okay.
have others too then?
Yeah, which, well, now I'm thinking about it is, you know, we're gonna be setting the date for us to have this additional meeting in June to talk about this. And, you know, I think that your schedule is the most important when you can all get together, but
Why can't it just be at a regular meeting?
We only have one in June.
Sounds great.
I think we're up against the timeline though for when it has to be submitted to the Department of Education.
We wanted to do it more early June than,
Let's move our meeting to the first, just the second weekend, or second Tuesday, and just do that meeting. And not do that.
well, you know what? There's an agenda item to discuss that topic that's coming up. So why not, I'll just finish with my report, which I don't even know if I have much more though. The last thing I guess I'd just share is that I did allude a couple of times throughout the year that special education was an area that was, you know, really we were having more issues with. And the reality is, and the board just needs to know this, is that we currently have 21% and growing, 21% of our student body has an IEP, which means they have a diagnosed, assessed disability, okay? That has grown from when I first started, you know, more like the 16, 17, right? So that, I mean, that's significant. And our schools and the systems as we're organized was really not necessarily built to have that percentage of students qualify for IEP. And it has really strained our system quite a bit, and we're trying to identify and assess all the areas that we need to improve in and refine and modify to become more relevant with the changing world that we live in. Right? So we finished that audit. I did send that audit out to all of our team members, and there's a list of low-hanging fruit that we're gonna try and take care of sooner rather than later. And then we'll just keep, you know, moving forward with that. But, you know, I would talk to some of you about this. I do think that the issue that we're facing here with a high percentage of students with IEPs is a common thread across the state of Minnesota. And I think that that is also a contributing factor to some of the deficits that they're projecting at the state level. Because in the last legislative session, they did commit to taking care of a percentage of the cross subsidy for special education. So then when the numbers of sped increase significantly across the state of Minnesota, and they've committed a percentage to that, that's gonna strain that system as well. So it's just an ongoing need. And you know, we're honored to have the opportunity to serve every child. But it's something that we're gonna have to just continue to evolve. So just wanted to put that on your radar. So with that, I'm open for questions. Otherwise, my remarks are over.
does anybody have any questions for Ben? All right, we will move on to item number 7, approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved, Melissa.
Motion made by Melissa, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Any comments or questions on the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda is approved. Item number 8, discuss and act on previous board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes as presented?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Don, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jen. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Scott. Is there a second? Second. Second by Melissa. Any comments or questions on the consent? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We are on to, this is worded a little differently than what we meant here, but was what Ben was alluding to as far as, thinking about having a meeting in earlier in June. Adding a second meeting was our first intention, so.
Yeah, so I mean, so here's the reality is we feel like there's gonna be some steps that happen here. The first step that the board is gonna have to, I guess, vote on, if you will, would be to vote for us to submit a review and comment to the state on a proposed project, okay? That does not necessarily mean that you voted to go for referendum, okay? You can do that at a future meeting, right? Which you're not gonna have a lot of time, but you probably can do that in July-ish, right? And that's where we're gonna get the lawyers involved in terms of how you have to word things on a ballot and, you know, so we would consult, we have a different set of lawyers that we use for that kind of law, okay? So that would be a second vote that you would vote. We're gonna go out for this question on the ballot in, let's say, November. Now that vote can happen. That's like the official vote. That could be, I think, in July, but we'll get that tied down. It could be in that first meeting in August, but it's gonna have to be that. But the review and comment piece, that's where we have less wiggle room, where we need to get something submitted earlier, which we believe would be, we hope by like the end of June. And that's why we were just wondering if, okay, so of course you could do it in one meeting and wait. But you're somewhat rolling the dice, assuming that you're gonna be able to have everything that you need and all of your questions asked, and you're gonna feel good about the project that you present, that you put in front, because they're gonna have to have a pretty tight, now it doesn't mean they can't modify as we go, but they need to have their plan that they submit. And I'm gonna, for most of you, you've participated in some of those task force meetings, and you will know that the committee, the task force will give a strong recommendation. But there's going to be some decisions that the board is gonna have to make to refine and modify and kind of put some final pieces to the puzzle together. And that committee all along has been told many times that they give a recommendation, right? And then the board's gonna have to do the real detail work, right? So, you know, there might be, I'm gonna give you an example. On a building project, for example, they might say, okay, the committee feels like, that we could do a $40 million project. And they will say, well, based upon the committee's, priorities, these 4 items, which would likely be like CTE, would be mechanicals and, you know, long-term facility maintenance kinds of things, would be some classroom size pieces and some circulation in the building. Well, that project's gonna be, you know, 35 million. And then you have 5 more million, and then you have these 10 other things that are kind of those next pieces on the list that, of course, you'd love to do them all, but you can't. So which things are you gonna pare down here? These are the discussions on, boy, or do we wanna do something with the locker rooms in the dungeon at the high school to get some more, locker room spaces and square footage up in proximity of the gymnasiums at the high school. And, maybe you can throw in a concession stand that will be compliant with the health department while you're at it, okay? Or, and then do you talk about the intermediate school issues related to special ed space, or do you, these are the discussions that you're gonna have to kind of refine it to get it to where you want it to be. And I guess it really comes down to how much time does the board feel like they need to have? And knowing that we're gonna have to rely on our architects and engineers to do some homework and maybe bring some things back to you-ish. So that's why we were wondering if maybe we needed to set another meeting. But of course, you're the board and you decide.
And that first one would be a workshop, so it would just be a work session.
It would be, we'd invite, I don't know if we need elders in, to be honest, because, the numbers are the numbers.
True,
You
we
see
have
the
all that,
numbers.
don't
You have all the numbers. And then you're gonna need Wold and ICS. But what will be a lot better is when you get that recommendation on the 20th. If you take this really serious and you all write down all of the questions and the things that you want me to send to the architects and engineers, so that they can have that week or two to prep and plan, so that when they come to you on that work session, they have it all for you. They have what your questions are, or what your thoughts are, and those kinds of things. Because I think that we can't just wait for that meeting that they come and then say, well, can you get us all this information? It takes some time to do that.
I think for the amount of things that we maybe have questions on, and to have them come back with answers or something, I think it would make the most sense in my mind to do, I think it was the 3rd is that first Tuesday, and then we can do the work session, come up with whatever they might have ready for us, and then have our list of, can you come back with this? And then that way on the 20th, we would be able, or whatever the next one is. 20th, 17th, that's exactly what I meant. Then we would be able to come back at that meeting, have the answers, have the discussion at that time, and then be able to say, this is what we want to do. But I appreciate when we're able to get together and then have our discussions, because then I can go and think, and then, okay, well, maybe this came up, or maybe this came up. I think I would find value in having the meeting at the beginning of June, and then follow up with the one on the 17th.
The 17th. What is the date that we have to have the vote done by? Is that the 17th of June? Do we have to take the vote that night?
Well, I can get an exact number, when they feel like they need to get a review and comment sent out. If you remember when the last time that we were gonna go out this review and comments are a 100-page document.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes them a little while to put that stuff together too.
It was 115 days before election, right, that we have to have a review and comment approved. And Jody said we should submit it at least a month before that, because
Yeah.
DOE will be inundated with
Requests,
applications.
Yeah, I think Ryan kind of walked it backwards and said no later than July, I think he said.
Yeah. I'm thinking if we do the June, then if we're able to have the 2 meetings, then I feel like probably the June meeting, we would have our answer, or not answer, our decision, right?
Yeah, because in July, we're not meeting till the 15th. Right. So I don't know if we can wait till the 15th. I think the vote, if I remember from that night, I think Ellers, one of them, I thought said the vote had to be in June.
By counting it out, it looks like it would be June.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll want to have this review and comment decision made so that we're going before the end of June for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I could do as well is I could invite Wold and ICS to come to the 20th. When they're given the recommendation, they could be here to help answer questions that you might have then as well. Eric, you got a question?
Scott's
So 115 days before November 5th is technically July 13th. And you said a month is the time that we want to have to look at that. So,
In advance, yeah.
yeah, so I'm just
Latest
saying
would be
that,
the June 17th.
yeah.
We'd have to have.
Well, I think that if we have the meeting and the recommendation on May 20th, if we have questions, I think that we need to give Wold and ICS and whoever a little bit of respect, being a holiday and whatnot. I think we need to come up with our questions to them by like the 23rd. So it'd be that Friday afternoon, submit our questions to them. They're gonna be out of town for the long weekend. It gives them essentially a whole 4 to 5 working days to come up with the answers to that question. We have that meeting June 3rd. Hopefully they'll come with the answers to a bunch of our questions, because we're gonna end up having more after that meeting.
Yeah, we'll have to refine.
And then they can come back on the 17th and answer our final questions, and we can decide yes or no. What we're gonna do.
That seems like the most, I think having that second meeting is a good.
I think that will work, and then I also think that if we do have that early meeting in June, and if they come to this, and if they kind of know, like a good idea of 90% of what it's gonna be, they can get to work.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they can rough most of that stuff out and then just wait for the small details.
Well, they have a lot of stuff compiled, they'll be able to draw from.
Yes, exactly. I mean, they've already done a lot of work, so.
I mean, the task force knows what they're going to present to us on the 20th. Why can't they just give us a little snippet of their presentation and tell us what they're gonna present? And we can start developing our questions.
Well, I can send that to you, now, I have it, I mean, it's in the folks, here's the bottom line, Eric, is, at the biggest thing that the task force had to wrestle with at the end was what they felt like the tax tolerance of our community potentially would be, based upon lots of variables, specifically the surveys that we did with Morris Leatherman and those kinds of folks, and they basically came up with this idea that $17 a month for an average house, okay, which is, we consider that a $350,000 house, $17 a month. And they basically are saying that 2/3 of that cost should go into a bond, which is for building, and 1/3 would go into this tech levy piece, the capital levy that would be able to help offset some operating expenditures for the year. And because of how both loans are structured so differently, is, 1/3 for a tech levy would give us maybe $700,000 a year annually-ish. Whereas, what did I say that right? 1/3 of the tech levy would give us about 700,000. 2/3 going to a bond would get us about a $40 million bond, because that's stretched out over so many years. And, basically, if you remember last spring, when we were ready to, kind of pull the trigger on a project before we engaged the community, and we looked at some options for a CTE wing and those kinds of things. That right now, what was presented to the board last spring, pencils out at about 35 million. Okay, so then that provides a little bit of a cushion for us to try and identify, where those next priorities are. And that's where I think the task force was somewhat all over the board on. And that's where you as elected officials are going to have to basically, decide what you feel is most important.
How many years are the capital levy? Like, I know operating is 2 and
I believe
then
it's 10.
10.
Yeah, and then capital is the one that we can just approve, we don't have to go back out for a vote, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
We can extend, yes, one round.
And I will throw out that committee also, may be recommending a second question on the ballot that would be an operating referendum. That would be, significant, $1 to $2 million annually. And, that's something that you might seriously want to consider. Because all along, as we talked about this, because of the tax sensitivity and us wanting to be very respectful to our taxpayers and kind of their threshold, is that we weren't going to solve any problem. Like, we were going to make things better. $700,000 or $750,000 annually on our operating budget is not gonna solve anything. When you have a $3 million a year structural deficit, it's going to not allow us to bring anything back per se. It's going to allow us to cut less. And that's just the reality that we have. And,
I missed the last task force meeting. At that meeting, was there, like, did they understand that? Like, do you think that they understood that like $750,000?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing,
They did.
so we could build, they wanna build a building, but we just can't have people in it.
It was, mostly, their hesitation was that tax threshold. That's what was
Right.
the conundrum for everybody, so. And the operating levy just costs so much more to our
Per house.
taxpayers.
Yeah.
I mean, you get more bang for your buck with the capital levy, but there you don't have the flexibility like you do with an operating.
There was a lot of discussion around, how to structure the questions and in what order, the priority over operating dollars versus the building referendum.
Okay.
And then the concept came up about, well, do we throw out a third question that was even more operating money that would solve our problem and see if they would go for one or the other kind of thing. So, it was a very interesting
Lots of different
discussion.
strategies.
Yes. There were several different.
None of which allow us to do anything but maybe stay afloat.
Overall, I mean, it was out of the box. I mean,
It was good thinking.
yeah, I think, we'll for sure have Todd. Todd Rapp will be at this next meeting and probably future meetings as well. And I think based upon your discussion on like, ballot questions and order and those kinds of things, we probably should have elders come. Cause I think they'll have some knowledge on that too.
I think it's fantastic that the chair's got six, half dozen additional
Yes.
people to come present. Because I wouldn't say that we even had that support 4 years ago when we were putting the big one on the ballot.
Well, I think the fact that we engaged the community for a full year and, had a dozen or more meetings and we were super public about it, I think that, the groundwork is laid. I mean, if there's ever an opportunity for us to pass one, I think we've done all the right things. Right, in terms of being transparent and involving people and those kinds of things. That doesn't mean that, anything's a slam dunk, passing, because we know it's really for a very conservative community. But at the same time, I mean, the reality is communities, if they want to have schools and if they want to have strong schools, you have to invest in those schools. Right? And that's just I guess what our community's gonna have to wrestle with. So, I mean, this huge, great discussion to talk about, are we gonna set another meeting?
Yes.
So can we do that May 20th and then us as a board try to, any questions that we might have from that May 20th presentation by the task force, come up with questions for Wold and ICS? We can submit, we can submit those by May 23rd at like noon, let's say, 3 o'clock, whatever, to Ben or to however we get those to ICS. So they have, and Wold, so they have time to work on it the following week. Do a June 3rd meeting with ICS and Wold. Probably don't need Ellers there yet till June 17th meeting. Then June 17th, we have Wold, ICS and Ellers there, answer any final questions that we might have.
And then the vote.
And then we vote to go to review and comment.
I think that's a good plan.
Transparency, I'm gonna be out of town for most of June, including that first week of June, so I would probably be attending that virtually.
Okay.
I can fly back if
Are
necessary.
you okay doing that?
I'm okay doing that as long as you're okay with me being.
You don't need to fly back.
Yeah.
We'll have to put you on the screen.
Thanks for sitting on the beach, okay?
As long as you're okay.
That's on the big screen in this tracker.
Yeah.
Make sure that.
Yeah, the big screen works
with
right,
Emily.
I did email Emily the address that I'd be at.
Yes,
We're comfortable
yep,
and all
I'll try
that.
to take care of that, yep. So you would be okay with doing that
As long as you're okay with me being on the speaker.
No, we're
list.
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
So let's just call it June third at our normal meeting time.
At 6.
Anybody else have this then? Where does the city do theirs?
No, because it'd be one of our normal nights that we would have.
Oh, so they wouldn't have it, but.
Oh, we'll have to double check to make sure this room's
Right.
available, yes.
Yeah, we'll have to double, but their
Otherwise-
meetings are typically on Thursday.
Thursdays,
yeah.
so.
As long as we don't have a planning commission or.
A special meeting.
Yeah.
I would think about Ellers coming because
It would be nice to
If-
have there.
we have a really good productive meeting and we're moving through our questions and issues and we get to talking about how to frame the questions. It would maybe be helpful to just
Or at least have Jody on
keep
video.
going. Yeah, yeah, she could be.
Yeah,
Yeah, call in.
Not gonna get that far, but yeah.
I honestly, Eric, I feel like the task force was like, brought us to a really good place
Yeah.
at the end of the last meeting. And, I hope you're pleased with the amount of information that they bring forward because,
I think it'll be great.
I
I
think
just
we're in a
think the
really good
whole,
place, actually.
once people get their hands into Walden ICS, they tend to ask a little bit more
detailed.
detailed questions that we don't really need to figure out now, that kind of need to happen after everything's approved and the vote is approved and everything, like the November vote is approved, like sometimes those meetings get into what color carpet are we gonna have. I kind of envision that June third kind of going down that road.
With us?
Uh-huh.
I think we all know that we don't.
I really envision this going that way, so.
Well, we'll give you a bell that you can read when you get there.
Yeah.
So you can bring this back in, because I could easily be that weeds person.
All right, so.
All right, so I just did an invite to all of those players for that night and I'll get a hold of them all tomorrow.
Yep, we just need to make sure we can use this room and. All right,
Perfect.
We can all bring lawn chairs and go out in the parking lot.
that would, if it's a night like tonight, I'd say, let's do a campfire. All right, our first action item is, district land sale. We have a purchase agreement.
Yeah, I sent I sent this to the board, so you've been able to see this. I'm sorry that this takes so long. It was almost all out of our control. We decided to stay with this developer to work through all of their complexities that they had to work through. We did get something out of it that I alluded to. We did retain the $10,000 from that original earnest money that Michelle's put somewhere, I'm guessing. So that's yours.
Somewhere.
Which by the way, and I'm just gonna say this, the board should have a little bit of discretion on how they wanna use that, right? Because that isn't tied to any, dollars that we've gotten from the government or anything like that. So just know that. And then we did increase the sale of the property by 10,000 as well. Okay, so not a lot of, but $20,000 in addition to what we were gonna receive. So we're asking to just approve this because there's now like they're really like chomping at the bit to get going and they're waiting on us to give this final approval. So I'm asking you to vote yes, and so I can call them tomorrow and say
Get to
go.
work, get your excavator
Yeah.
out there, buddy.
Not the word I thought you were gonna say there for a second. Okay.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the purchase agreement?
I move to accept the purchase agreement for the sale of district vacant land as presented.
All right, motion's been made by Melissa, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jen. Any comments or questions?
How is the easement gonna work on this?
Not the same that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did allude to that the last time they came, kind of how it's gonna come out. I think that what they're looking at, and again, in the purchase agreement, it still has that language in there
For
that
the
is
easement.
contingent upon
That's what I
approval of the easement. That's still in the purchase agreement. So they still will have to come and get some finality on that. But the way that, you know, it's funny because I mean, it's almost gonna end up being exactly what it was gonna be back like 4 years ago when Eldon, you know, originally we were working with,
Yeah.
where it's basically gonna come across and then it's gonna come up. It's not gonna cut across any fields or anything, and then it's just gonna go straight up, you know, down the road, down, yeah, so that's what they have right now penciled in there. But again, the board will have final
That'll come at a
approval on
later
that.
date.
Yeah.
This is slated for next summer, correct?
Yeah, they're not gonna be digging up anything until next summer. You know, they're still, you know, I don't know all the hoops that they have to jump through to get things approved by the city and those kinds of things, but they're finally to that point where they're ready to get this final approval from the city. And then once they get approval on what's called their final plat, then they will want to close. Right? So if they get approval on their final plat sooner than later, then they'll wanna close as soon as they can.
Well, I think there was a closing date in there, of like October.
It's October.
October something, wasn't it?
October.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any other comments or questions? We'll vote by roll call, starting with Eric.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Melissa, yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Deb, yes. All right. Land we got the purchase agreement. Yay. All right. Item number 11, Rum River Revised Joint Powers Agreement.
Well, I think I put this out in front of you for information the last time, and you've seen this. Now it's just, you know, making your final vote, so that can move on too.
All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve, the resolution for the Rum River Revised Joint Powers Agreement as presented?
I move to accept the resolution relating to the adoptions of the joint powers agreement for construction and maintenance of a cooperative facility and the financing thereof, approving parameters for the award of a lease purchase agreement and the sales certificates of participation therein as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made by Melissa, seconded by Scott. Any comments or questions on this?
Had to think everybody, that was too long to read.
We will vote by roll call on this also, starting with Scott.
Yes.
Don?
Yes. Melissa, yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Deb, yes. All
I
right.
forgot
Yes.
Eric.
Oh,
Eric.
sorry.
That was a test, he passed.
Yeah, good going. All right, Rum River Facilities Joint Powers Agreement. So now this is different. We have two on here.
Yeah, different,
This is the facilities.
This is with, once the facilities is constructed, it's who owns what and who keeps the maintenance. Gotcha. Okay.
I move to accept the joint powers agreement for construction and maintenance cooperative facilities as presented.
All right, motion's made by Eric Strandberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jen. Any comments or questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approved.
just a small commentary there, and I just need to reinforce for the board how blessed we are to have the ability and a partnership for a level 4 setting. Because there are some districts that don't have that option, and it is really difficult to function. And the fact that we have that, it is just a necessary piece, and it's a good partnership that we have.
And they're, it'll be really nice once they get a new facility. Yes. That meets their needs. All right, item 11D, middle school parking lot bid. Michelle, are you gonna walk us through that one?
So we received a good number of bids. It was a good bid day. And we are recommending the Midwest, OMG Midwest doing business as Minnesota Paving and Materials. We are gonna do base bid, alternate 1 and alternate 2, and we got unit prices, just in case, we have money left over to do, we don't have in either of the bid areas, the sidewalk that goes out from the bus all the way down to the end of our land. So we stop to get the parking lot. So we have, asked for a unit price, just in case, we get that opportunity. And for the most part, this will, well, not the most part, it will spend out, the abatement fund. So,
And this project's gonna be happening this summer.
it starts as soon as the bell rings. For the last day of school. So yes, it is supposed to, we are scheduled to be done the first part of August.
Is this the first year of that high school redesign? Oh,
No, second year.
Second.
second year? Yeah, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. And just how it's working.
The flow of
So,
it, yeah,
Yeah.
it does work much better.
Mhm.
It pains the kids a bit.
Agreed.
So anyway, strong work, because we struggled on finding a design that was gonna work on that.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid from OMG Midwest Asphalt for the middle school parking lot.
All right, Eric Strandberg has made a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Don. Any comments or questions on the bid? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, that is approved. Then we have the milk bid for next year.
Yep, we received 2 bids. And we are recommending Kemp's, who we currently have. So, that's a little bit.
Would somebody like to make a motion to accept the milk bid from Kemp's as presented? So moved. Motion's been made by Don. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Any comments or questions on the milk bid? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Milk bid is approved. Last item. We have a contract before us tonight for Pat Devine to be our new superintendent. Is there a motion to approve the contract?
So moved. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
Go, yeah.
I move to accept the contract naming Patrick Devine as superintendent of Princeton Public Schools as presented.
All right, motion has been made by Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Go for it, I was just waiting.
Second by Jen.
Melissa.
Melissa, there you go.
Any comments or questions on that? We're excited to have you, Pat.
Yes.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's official.
Congratulations.
We have no additions to the agenda. Just a reminder, tomorrow is the school board scholar banquet. It lists 6:30 here, but we usually want board members there by 6. Yeah, because we're the hosts, so we gotta.
Yeah, a little before 6
Little
might be
before
okay too, because we always get people that come early. We're the hosts, yeah,
The
and
hostesses.
we give them their, what is it, their corsage or boutonniere, and yeah, be the welcoming committee.
I will do my best.
All right,
I'm in St. Paul.
yeah.
And it's not, I mean, we just need to have one or 2 people there.
Yeah,
Could have Howard come in.
yeah, he liked that part.
That's all he
Did
did.
at 6 anyway on it.
And then you,
Then he'd leave.
All right, we have no more items on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Don, seconded by Eric Stramberg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
you know, who's watching the Timberwolves tonight?